That's all right. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So, welcome to APO live seminar session on post-COVID-19 higher education and career. My name is Long from Asia Pacific University of Technology and Innovation, APU. I'm your host for today. So, today will be our last sessions for our this seminar series. I hope everyone that have followed our seminar series, you have learned something out of it. Today's session will be covering in the field of actuarial, and topic is actuarial study prospect on managing the risk of future threats such as COVID-19. So today we have three special guests here with us. Ms. Karen Chua, a fellow in IFOA, Institute Faculty of Actuaries, Mr. Logan, fellow in Society of Actuaries, and Mr. Raja, APU Head of School for Actuarial. So welcome everyone.
Hi, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, hello everyone.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Okay, now over to you, Mr. Raja.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us at this webinar. Okay, today we're going to talk about webinar on actuarial studies. The topic of today will be talking on the prospect of managing the risk of future threats, such as what we experience now, COVID-19. And joining us are two speakers, two well-known speakers from two biggest professional bodies. The first one is Ms. Karen Chua. Hi, Ms. Karen. Okay, Ms. Karen. Okay, Ms. Karen is a fellow from International Faculty of Actuaries based in UK. She graduated from Cass Business School in Actuarial Studies, and she has a total of 12 years in working experience in UK. Some of the big companies, bigger name like Maersk, Sun Life, JLT, and Direct Line. And now, currently, Ms. Karen Chua has a role as Southeast Asia rep for the IFOA, and her role is to develop and strengthen the link between the professional body and the key stakeholders in the region, including universities, employers, and regulators. Apart from that, she also managed the interests of the IFO bodies, IFO members, and in a way, she tried to do a knowledge transfers, especially in actuarial, between Southeast Asia and UK. Welcome, Ms. Karin. And joining us also Mr. Logendran Kanesan. Mr. Logan is a fellow with Society of Actuaries. Hi, Logan. Mr. Logan graduated from University of Waterloo in Actuarial Studies. He has a total of 10 years experience working in Canada and Malaysia, I believe. And currently, Mr. Logan is attached with MCI Live. Is a group member of a Sunlam group, right? And his role now is to drive products. Driving is a driver. I mean, it's a driving product. That means he's creating products and strategically and innovation. I think it's right. Okay, we get it right, Mr. Logan. Yes. Okay. All right. So we are looking at. Let me share. Okay. Okay. So, as we look at COVID-19, which is something that unexpected and just appears out of nowhere and impact us in every inch of life. And the biggest impact, we talk about industry and economy. All right, and if you look at the cutting there, we're talking about tourism sector affected, the hotel, the hospitality sectors, the shipment, the trade, and a lot of issues. And how big is the impact, and what's the impact? So we're going to get the expert from our speakers from actuary's perspective. How is the impact to our daily life? And I'd like to invite Ms. Karin to talk about it first. Ms. Karin,
yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Raju. It's this COVID-19 pandemic has hit us unexpectedly, and not only has it changed our daily lives now, we go out, we have to wear masks and adhere to the various social distancing requirements, regardless of whichever country you are currently in. That seems to be the requirements from the local government in terms of the healthcare requirements. But around the world, you would see various levels of responses. And in some cases, there have been the second wave of COVID-19 that has impacted countries such as Australia and China recently. So over here in Malaysia, you will have noticed that our general economy has been impacted because essentially most of the workforce were, if possible, they could work from home. They have been working from home for the last 2.5, 3 months. Before now, the government gradually easing up again. So economy-wise, has deeply impacted not just Malaysia, but the entire world as well. And the governments in these countries, not only just Malaysia, like for example, looking at the US, UK, have all come up with different measures to help boost the economy. But I think we're still a long way there, and we are starting to see more of the significant impacts coming up over the course of the remaining of the year. And a lot of the recovery would hinge upon how fast we could find a vaccine, for example, and to what extent the citizens in each country would follow the various requirements and the guidelines set out by their local government. So I think this is still just the beginning. We haven't really seen the full impact yet, but there are experts saying that it could take at least a couple of years before economies around the world would start building up again. So that's from the economic prospect. I think from the healthcare prospect, it has also put a lot of strain on hospitals and healthcare providers, and we will continue to see this type of shortages, and especially in countries where it's more severe, like for example in the US and in Latin America. I think the hospitals there are struggling. We are very fortunate to be in Malaysia, whereby cases are still under control by the government. But who knows? If you and I are not careful, we could potentially end up in a second wave, and that is something we need to avoid in order for the economy to strengthen up again.
Yeah. So I can see, like what Ms. Karin says, the impacts are still, we are still in early stage. We don't see how the gravity of the impact yet. As you said, we will take, as experts say, as mentioned by Ms. Karin, it might take 2 or 3 years to see how bad we are and whether we are in the recovery process. And again, what she mentioned, that the keyword is now is vaccine. Is the vaccine coming, right? And when we can go back to the norm. And Mr. Logan, what do you think what Karin says?
So it is very true. I don't have a lot more to add, but in short, the impact to our economy, both the Malaysian and global economy, is quite serious. As you know, many people have lost jobs, or they may be temporary, told to take temporary leave and all of that. Consumer spending is down, so the economy is going to be affected, and many small businesses especially are struggling to stay afloat. Even the large businesses, for example, travel industry, they all hit quite bad. And like what Karin said, we are actually quite lucky in Malaysia because we have controlled it quite well, and hopefully it will stay that way. But the situation is much worse in other countries, especially the United States, where they have failed to contain the COVID pandemic, and it's becoming a political issue over there. So in that situation, they are likely to have a longer impact and could be worse. And given the size of the US economy and Europe and all of that, so whatever they suffer from, we also have to take the knock-on effect on the global economy. So our capital markets, equity markets will also be impacted on what's going on in the United States and Europe and all of that. So yes, we are in a global recession period. There's no denying that. But as with every recession, there will be a recovery. So we will come out of this. It's like a cycle. Every 10 years or so, there's a recession. But this time, it is a much more serious recession, where it is affecting all parts of the economy, and pretty much everyone is affected. So, and it's really because of the COVID situation, it's also dependent on when we will get a vaccine, and when travel restrictions will be eased, when other parts of the world, they manage to contain it. So there's a lot more factors for us to actually rebound from this.
Yeah. Actually, you are right, because we have bounced back from many recessions. but those recessions are caused by something that we expected, the economic downturn, the war kind of thing. This is something that we had not expected, right? COVID-19 comes from where?
Yeah.
So such a small thing that it caused a big impact. And it's impacted in every single aspect of our life, right? I mean, we have to admit that. So the word is now, we're talking about this impact. And as what people say is in Malay proverb, they say sediakan payung sebelum hujan. I think it means prepare umbrella before the rain, right? So actually, we talk about protection, right? How to manage this kind of risk. These are unexpected risks, and in future we might have this kind of similar risk, similar threat, and how are you going to mitigate that? So in actuary perspective, how this COVID-19 impact the actuary field itself. We are talking about global economy. Now we're talking about actuaries, actuarial field discipline. You're talking about insurance. You're talking about risk managing, investment kind of thing. How this thing affected these fields? Kerry?
Well, I think just from general observation in terms of the impact on the insurance companies, it has been a mixed bag. This COVID pandemic has emphasized more awareness of individuals on their own health and well-being. So in general, I think we are, and we have seen, and I think we are likely to see an even more uptick of insurance, especially life insurance and health insurance by individuals. So in a way, that is a positive aspect coming out from COVID-19, because this would kind of encourage people to take up more protection products, which is what the government have been encouraging all this while. It's just, there has to be an impetus for something to drive this, and I believe coming out of COVID-19, that awareness has increased. But I think in certain aspect, it hasn't been as positive. I mean, we have seen, if you talking about motor insurance, for example, during the lockdown, as we are all stuck at home, the number of accidents on the road have dropped significantly. So in a way, that's good news to the general insurers, because they're seeing less claims coming through. But on the other hand, people have stopped traveling, for example. So I would say that travel insurance has almost come to a stop, because no one is traveling, so there's no need to purchase travel insurance anymore. But of course, we are seeing some of the insurers, especially the international ones in other countries, which are now in legal court cases over business disruption insurance, because there are different definition and clauses around what is a pandemic and when their customers are able to claim. So there are various different disputes that are going on in countries such as the UK and the US. And we have seen cases where in France, for example, the government, the legal, they have stepped in to kind of say that, as an insurer, even though the clauses and the wordings are not exactly to the 100% accuracy, they have required the insurance companies to repay or to compensate their customers. So in certain ways, this would drive many insurers with large claims unexpectedly. So we're not sure how the impact would be in countries like Malaysia, but I think in general, on the life insurance, health insurance aspect, is good. But I suspect that there could be cases where people are delaying treatment as well, because the slight reluctance to go to the hospital at this stage, because there's still the virus lurking around. So we are likely to see a delay in operational procedures, or there could be some minor cases. I've got a small cut here and there. People are delaying treatment, so in that aspect, the claim side is slightly lower, but I think that would come eventually. So this just the general aspect in terms of the insurance sector. But I think overall it's quite an exciting time to be an actuary. Not just because of the COVID, of course, but there are various ways where we can add value into our modeling and the risk management aspects to advise not only just insurance companies, but the financial sector, as well as in some places the government as well.
Okay, this clear to see how the insurance plan is supposed to protect. So now I think like what Mr. Logan doing, I think you go back to drawing board and see how we can come out with a new model that includes this kind of threats. In the future, you might see more. Like what Karin says, might delay the delay of the treatment might increase the claim, the amount of claim or the level, something like that. So I think is it time for us, for actuaries to go back to drawing table and see how we can remodel, and there should be a growth of insurance and then looking into a new model of insurance. So again.
So I think okay. So to take a step back, we do have a lot of different types of insurance in the life and health sector. We do have a lot of different types of insurance that does help during this COVID situation. So, for example, our medical health coverage does have a pandemic exclusion, but all life insurers and general insurers waived that exclusion for this COVID-19. And many, if not all of the life insurance companies have provided free coronavirus coverage, free COVID-19 coverage during this period. So that has attracted a lot of goodwill to the industry. So in terms of life and health, I think solutions are there, but we probably need to be more sophisticated in the way we need to predict this kind of pandemics or try to model these pandemics. But it depends for the use and the type of insurance we are providing. Taking a step back, I think the common view is actually that the insurance industry is recession-proof or almost recession-proof. From my experience within the industry, there was some impact to the industry, and there still is, because of the reduction in sales during the lockdown period. And customers are also finding it harder to pay their premiums, leading to lapses because they can't afford to continue paying their premiums, especially those from the B40 market. And we are also seeing investment losses, and that will continue for some time because of the lower interest rate set by Bank Negara. The OPR rate has been cut to 1.75% now, and now even the capital markets are performing very poorly. So especially life insurance companies are very dependent on investment income. So now that's going to be a knock-on impact on that. So we will be taking on some losses. But if even saying all that, we don't get hit as hard as other industries. In fact, what we have seen is that in the recent months in the last 2 months after the lockdown was eased, we are seeing a surge in sales. And there's been increased awareness of the importance of insurance coverage, like what Karin mentioned. The COVID-19 is creating an awareness about that. As for actuaries ourselves, I haven't heard of any actuary being laid off, which is very nice. So despite it being a recession, we are still getting paid. We still have jobs, and that is a very nice thing in this era. And although even when it comes to new hiring, some companies have temporarily frozen hiring, but there are still other companies who continue with hiring of new actuarial staff. So that is a very positive thing for our industry. But we do see that even experienced actuaries are now being very careful of changing jobs now. They prefer to stay in their own company so that the company values them even more. So that is something we are seeing. People are being more careful about switching jobs.
So what I can say that even the world economy was badly battered by this COVID-19, and we feel the effect, and we're still feeling, and we don't know how bad it's going to go, or how low it's going to dip. But as your conversation with you and Karin, I can see that actuaries we are a bit more stable, and the need of it is people are more aware. People say, okay, do I protected from this kind of threat? Okay, so they thought, okay, and the investment company thinking, okay, do I get the right advice? Should I now visit actuaries more, get their advice more? The awareness, not even for individual, not talking about life and general, talking about company, investment company. So as what Karin says, part of it, she advised company on investment. And as you said, that the insurance company rely heavily on investment. So now the people and the companies are more aware of the need of actuarials, the importance of actuarials, and this can lead to, as you mentioned, that there's a surge in the sales. All right, what you can anticipate? Are we going to see this trend moving forward, and the surge will pick up, the spike will be lasting, and it's going to be the new norm. That means people are now talking about, there's a study shows that there's a less than 20% of people in Malaysia are insured, right? So now we're talking about, okay, everyone is open their eyes. Okay, am I protected? Should I get this? Should I get any plan to cover me? And companies are looking into that. So what your opinion on this, Karin?
Well, I suppose at the end of the day, it will really depend on their disposable income. Insurance is not, even though there is the benefit, of course, because we are aware of the benefit of purchasing insurance for protection purposes. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it really depends on how much disposable income you may have to hand. I think if we look at the general Malaysian, penetration of insurance, most of the purchases of insurance are those from the middle upper class. But like as Logan has correctly highlighted, the B40s especially would be heavily impacted by COVID. So would they then consider buying insurance at this time, given that they may have already lost their jobs, for example, and are looking at different means to earn a decent income to feed the family? I'm not sure how much we would see that drive coming through, but it certainly has opened up the eyes of people on the importance of having this element of protection. So it could be the case where companies may be innovative and come up with different types of policies that could suit the different needs. And then, I do agree, Logan. There are companies that are waiving premium payments, say for 3 months or so, just to help their customers. So maybe having that type of benefits may further encourage individuals to consider purchasing more insurance.
Okay, what do you thought about it?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, in Malaysia, I think most of us insurance companies have been over-targeting that middle 40 and upper segment until they have 3-4 policies per person. So there's really not much more scope where, you can ask them to review their coverage, but there's not really much more scope within that market. It's quite saturated. So even from a business perspective, it makes sense to try and target the B40 and the other segments which are typically not insured. And Karin is right. When we enter those markets, our typical product designs and pricing points don't exactly work. So we need to think about how to make the distribution work. How do we bring the cost of distribution down, go into different types of partnerships. Actually, quite a number of insurance companies have already done that, or at least they are starting to do that. So you can actually buy insurance at RM1 a month even now. So it's possible. I've seen that. But we just need to do more of it. We need to expand our distribution and continue doing that. Because it is actually from an insurance company's perspective, it has been quite interesting. The B40 segment, some of them cut out insurance as the first point when they have a hit on their income. But if the insurance is cheap enough, then they actually see the value of it and they don't mind keeping it even when they are badly hit. So I mean, if it's 100 ringgit a month and your income is 1,500, then it's a very big part of your expense. But if it's 10 ringgit or 5 ringgit a month, they wouldn't really worry about it. So maybe that's what we need to do more and more. Yeah.
It makes sense that yeah, as you say, that is the insurance, the protection must be affordable, you know. So for those who are 40, they might think that amount is quite huge for them, right? They think why the need of protecting that when they're not surviving. That's what they're talking about. So we can see a potential, yeah, from this conversation. You see, there's a potential of the growth in the actuarial field. Okay, so do why now we are looking at, as you mentioned earlier, you are hiring people, right? You're hiring actuaries, and actuaries not be laid off, you know, and you still get paid. So we can see the field is quite stable and a potential to grow. So what you can advise to those who are students who are interested to join this field? Is it a good field? I wouldn't say it's immune to recession, but the track record that from your conversation shows that no one laid off and we're still hiring people. So what would you like to advise to those who are young plus young mathematicians, statistics, or who are interested in actuaries? Any one of you?
Yeah, I think in general, the employment prospect of the actual profession is still pretty good worldwide, not just only in Malaysia, but of course, given the current situation we are in, there may be some companies that are, as Logan has mentioned earlier on, freezing hiring. And I think to a certain extent, it may impact, some of the internships placement available at companies. I think just not because the companies are freezing per se, but I think it's just more of a precaution on social distancing requirements, because companies ultimately, some of them have to kind of reconfigure the structure of their organization, the layout of their office, for example, to cater for the various to meet the various requirements set up by the local government. But I think overall, with or without COVID, I would see it as an opportunity, because this is where the skill sets of actuaries could add value, not just in the insurance, but in various other fields such as investments, and you are seeing an uptick as well of actuaries working in the fintech space, and they are saying that COVID, the benefit, the upside of COVID is that it has accelerated the global technology implementation amongst companies as well as individuals. I mean, during COVID, I would have my family members on Zoom, for example, and there will be my grandma using technology, which in the past you would have not seen it. Rarely see these type of cases. So the adoption of technology will continue to impact the different type of products that we see on the market. And Logan has mentioned earlier on about the different various ways of distributions and partnerships, and certainly insurance companies are starting to venture out instead of the usual agency partnerships or the partnerships with banks, for example. You're seeing that they are starting to partner up with fintech such as Grab, for example. You could buy an insurance policy, a protection from Grab and various other apps and fintech companies that you would see. So I think in general it's quite an exciting period, and I don't see it as a downside. Of course, COVID has brought a lot of sufferings to individuals, but I think in general, if you're talking about the employability and the future prospect of the actual profession, I still believe it's pretty bright.
Yeah. I mean, it's look positive. What you can see, the potential is there. Logan, you'd like to add anything to that?
Yeah, so I think what our actuarial students should do is they shouldn't. I think sometimes it can be easy to get demotivated when there are so many graduates and everyone is competing for the actuarial jobs. But on the other hand, as Karin pointed out, there are many new industries that are looking, recognizing the capability of actuaries. So it's important to keep an open mind. Don't be too fussy about your first job, that it has to be within a life insurance industry with Great Eastern or AIA. If you don't be too fussy about it, but if you want certain criteria and what you would like to work in, I think your prospects can be quite wide. And also, it's important to complement your actuarial skills, because nowadays when you go into different industries, we are not purely actuaries. We will have to communicate well. We may have to do a lot more analysis. We may have to do programming. So if you can have this cross-sectional sort of skills, so I mean, if you know Java and C++ programming and R, Python for data science, if you have these skills, if you have practiced it a bit, then your employability for different sectors actually go up quite a bit. And if you read up on industry knowledge, let's say you're interested in a maybe e-wallet industry, and then you read up about it, who are the players in it, and then when you go for your interview, when you speak to people, they would be impressed by what you know, then you'll get your chances of getting hired are better as well.
That's very good sound advice from Logan. Okay, so what we can conclude that just having a degree in actuarial won't guarantee your job, but even there's a potential of the growth in the field, but you need to have certain skills, right? So, and what we can see and what we can observe, that not only a basic degree, students need to have professional exemptions for them to familiarize with all the practices in actuaries, right? So in APU, as you can see that the APU degree, we have a full accreditation. That means we have maximum 6 paper exemptions from the International Faculty of Actuaries, and Karin is well known about that. And of course, with Society of Actuaries (SOA), we also be recognized. We have only the first and only university that all the 6 preliminary exam preparation on our site. So, what in your opinions, how this paper exemption can accelerate a career in actuaries? If you fresh graduate without any exemption, and you fresh graduate with partial exemption, as what we get. Karin?
Well, I think, of course, having some exemptions under your belt would be a good benefit, and it certainly would help, towards the overall attainment of either your associate or your fellowship exams. Because ultimately, say for example, if you leave the universities and you meet the expected grades required, and you'll be eligible for up to 6 exemptions from the IFOA. So what that means is that when you graduate and you leave the university, and assuming you do have the grades required to obtain all these 6 exemptions, then when you start working, you are just 4 papers away from being an associate, and then a further 3 more to a fellowship. So you're kind of like halfway there. In my opinion, and it will give you probably more time as well, kind of to focus on your work experience. Because once you're working, to study part-time, it's quite time consuming. I'm not saying it's easier, but I suppose it does to a certain extent reduce the number of professional exams that you may have to sit for whilst you are working. And I mean, the exemption part is just one aspect. I would agree totally with Logan on recommending all students, where possible, to participate in various extracurricular activities at universities, and also, where if the opportunities arise, do participate in like courses that you can find, for example, on Coursera, to enhance your computing and your programming skills. And more importantly, I think actuaries are looking, the hiring actuaries are looking at what are your interpersonal skills. So having a good communication skills and able to work as a team would be very, very, very essential. Not only your degree would play an important role, but also the softer aspects as well. So please do not just focus on your academic results, but also look at how you could enhance your other skills within the university or school. And I say at university is the best time of your life. And do take as much opportunity that is provided at the university to participate in various clubs and societies that are of interest to you.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with Karin. So progress in professional exams is definitely viewed very favorably by employers, because we would like to have credentialed actuaries, and having more examination exempted means that you are closer to qualifying, and your chances are higher that you will qualify. And personally, I went through the Society of Actuaries track, and although I do enjoy actuarial science and learning, taking 10 examinations from scratch was a lot of work, and studying and working at the same time is really not easy. So any like these exemptions would give you a boost in that journey. So definitely it is very welcome, and it's very valuable. And at the same time, yes, if you put all your eggs into one basket, like you just focus on your exam progress, you could get an actuarial job, but probably the scope of the type of roles that can get be limited. And yeah, you would really want to spend your university life developing yourself as an individual in many different areas as well. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So you can see that as even like what Karin says, you go to job, you go to your first job, and if you focus on professional exam, then your focus on the job will be less, So where are you going to focus? And with APU degree, you have partial exemption, like 6 papers, and you are halfway there, and the focus will be more on the getting job experience. And I think what's the next advanced level of professional examinations are focusing on that. So it might help, right? Okay, so this arrangement looks worth it. And in APU, one of the ideas that we have that instead of doing a project, literature-based project, we are thinking of students being exposed to the industrial-based project. So what we're going to do, we plan to have is where we have a real-life project, a simulated kind of project, and students work on it. So it will be giving an early start of students experiencing what is happening in the real world of actuaries. How do you think it helps? Karin?
I would say it's certainly very beneficial, so that you can actually bring to life what you have studied at the university, and having that work experience and the industrial placement, I would say would be viewed favorably to your prospective employers as well, because it does show that you have some work experience, what the work culture could be, and how to even switch on a computer and turn on your Outlook, for example, the very basic thing. You'd be surprised. I mean, I remember when I first started out, I knew probably almost zero of all these things. So you do pick up all these bits and pieces when you are out interning or on industrial placement. So from my perspective, if I'm hiring, for example, I will look out for individuals who have participate in these kind of activities, because it does show you that this person is really keen and have the initiative to pursue an actuarial career. So yeah, totally recommend it.
Okay, so if you are going in the right direction now, right? How about Logan? What's your perspective on this?
Yeah, so I think the one of the key challenges new actuaries face is that the work life and university life are very different things. Although what you learn in university is very important and useful, but the transition from university to work life is quite different. And the learning curve for a new actuarial graduate is usually quite steep. Typically, we expect a graduate to take 6 to 12 months to fully learn the background to perform at the expected level on the job. And then, of course, the learning continues. So if you have exposure to the industry before starting a job, it would equip you with the skills to hit the ground running and shorten the learning curve. So definitely it would be a positive for the employer that you can contribute much quicker. So definitely it's a positive, yes.
It's good to hear that whatever we're doing in APU now, apart from the internship, the compulsory internship, and this industry-based project, going to help us. All right. So I think from our position, we can conclude that the outlook of the actuarial field, the career is good. As even Karen says, is open up the awareness, so people are more aware and they see the importance of the actuaries. And as Logan says, there are segment of people like B40 that we can focus. So we can see there's a potential growth there, and the search and the sales are good. Okay, so I think we can open the floor for Q&A. If there are questions from the audience.
All right, thank you so much for your sharing. So if let's say anyone have questions, you actually can feel free to drop down your questions in the comment area. I will actually show it up. So we actually have one question over here from Ihan Leong. Is there any benefit working as an actuaries?
Okay.
So
Anyone of you?
what I can say is there are lots of career benefits as well as personal benefits. So in terms of career benefits, of course, when you're a student, you will get exam raises as you pass exams. So you can actually, if you're passing exams, your monthly salary can increase quite quickly compared to other professions. And you would have, I would say once you're qualified, the remuneration is quite decent and it's stable. And you have the benefit of being able to access a global employment market. Basically, even if you want to work regionally in Southeast Asia, Asia, or even abroad, as a qualified actuary, you get that instant recognition that is quite nice for us. Personally, I think it's a very good profession in the sense that you have to engage in continuous learning. So you always try to improve your knowledge. And because you are constantly challenged, because of course, as a qualified actuary, you're paid well, but you are put in a position of importance. So you would need to develop your integrity. You would need to have good communication skills and all of that. So to perform at the level that you need to at the job, also you would have to improve yourself as a person, and it's a continuous journey. So the actuarial profession kind of acts as a catalyst for you to do that.
All right. So Ms. Karen, anything you want to add on?
Well, I totally agree with Logan, and I would say that having a professional qualification, especially an actuarial related one, which is us too, I see it as a global passport for us to, well, basically travel anywhere in the world. Because our qualification and our skill sets are recognized worldwide. And so it has given me the opportunity to work in the UK, and for Logan in Canada as well. So I'm not saying that Malaysia is not a great place to work, but working in various countries do open up your eyes to the different cultures and the different working environment as well. And benefit wise, I think almost all companies would provide study benefits, pay increment upon passing and qualifying. So I think that's pretty standard these days. But I think personally, apart from the lifelong learning aspect, I think it's the firstly the awareness and also the appreciation from the organization in terms of what value you could add to the company. I think for me is quite fulfilling, because you could add value and then make a difference to how certain activities or projects could be managed. So I think to me that's a plus side as well. And personally, I like meeting different people. So my previous role working at a consultancy has given me a lot of opportunities to reach out and talk to various people from different countries. So to me, that is a plus side, and you could travel as well.
To add to that, sorry, Lo. To add to that, I say there's the APU degree which we offer partial exemption on the IFOA and SOA recognition, which you give a passport to work everywhere, every corner of the world, as what is said by Logan and Karen. That means we don't confine ourselves to certain regions, right? Am I right?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Yes,
yeah, correct. But of course, it will depend on the different countries' visa requirements, for example.
Yeah,
so
of
it's
course.
not as easy as it sounds,
Yeah.
but there are like windows of opportunities available.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, Lo.
Right. Oh, I believe the biggest attraction is during this COVID-19 situation also, no actuaries being laid off, right? So that's the biggest attraction.
As
Yeah,
far
that's
as I know,
positive.
sir, as far as I know, I'm not 100% sure.
Or maybe
Alright.
maybe not yet.
Or maybe it will not. All right, we have a second question here.
Hopefully
As
not.
what people
Hopefully not.
usually say,
Hopefully not.
the market for actuaries is very niche. So is there a demand in actuaries now?
So it is true, the actuarial mathematics or actuarial science by design is supposed to be very niche in terms of its mathematics for risk management, insurance, and that area. But on the other hand, because the recognition of actuarial science has grown so much, so people tend to associate mathematical business professionals with actuarial science. So that has given us some additional capability and additional scope. So in that case, now what we have to do is expand our skill set. So it's not just pure actuarial skill set, but as Karin and I mentioned earlier as well, you need to complement your skill set with programming, data science, communication, business knowledge, or whatever area that you feel most connected to. And then so we are not just actuarial, maybe we are actuarial plus. Maybe you have to see ourselves that way.
Mhm. So what are the company actually
Yeah, I
available?
totally agree.
All right. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
no, I
Karin.
totally agree with Logan. I kind of see actuaries as a business mathematician. So we are able to apply our statistical skill set and knowledge to the application of business, not only in insurance, but we do see examples of. Let me give you an example of. Actuaries, some of the actuaries in the UK who work in oil and gas. You will have never expected that in Malaysia, but I mean, given that we do have a big oil and gas resource in Malaysia, that I think that could be a potential as well. So what actuaries would do in oil and gas in terms of like risk management, if what's like, give you an example, what's the probability of finding an oil resource, for example, and then from there they can then project forward how long are they expected this oil rig to be able to produce oil for. What is the cost of building this oil rig? What is the potential returns that we may receive from there? And what are the risks involved in all these exploration activities? So, indirectly, it does play to our skill set as well. It's just that because over here in Asia, we typically associate actuaries to insurance companies, but in reality, there is a whole wide world open there, and even in the banks as well. I mean, you could look at financial risk management and various aspects, pensions as well. If you look at EPF, that there should be a need to hire actuaries to do all these various calculations on future mortality. And pension contribution. So I think the ocean is really wide, and as Logan said, do not be picky when it comes to your first job. In fact, we are seeing an increasing number of university graduates who are venturing into the non-traditional space, such as fintech. So it's all pretty exciting, and I think essentially, what's important is you can bring something to add value to the company, not just your academic skills, but your other softer skills as well.
Okay, that sounds interesting, because a lot of students might be always asking us, so besides insurance, where else I actually can get the market for it? I mean, I get a job for that. And how about normally in one company, how many actuaries they actually require in one company itself? So if let's say one company only require one actuaries, then so many graduates out there. So am I able to get a job once I graduated?
Yeah, I mean, that's a difficult question to answer because it really varies from company to company. Life insurance companies tend to hire more actuaries. Of course, the big companies, Prudential, Great Eastern, AIA, they would hire the most number of actuaries. I think they have an upward of 50 or 60 actuaries per company. And the smaller companies would have more leaner teams because you can't, as a smaller company, you need to have a more efficient cost model or smaller operating cost. And then in general, insurance, I believe previously it was common to outsource the actuarial function, but now it's Bank Negara's regulation is that the appointed actuary must be in-house. So of course, when you have an appointed actuary, he needs actuarial staff to support him as well. So there will be some actuaries there. But can we hire all of the actuarial students in the market? No. There are actually lots of actuarial students now, and the number of jobs are less than the number of students applying for the jobs. So you would have to look at non-insurance and like fintech, technology, and various different segments as well. Yeah.
All right. So then in that case, how can I increase the competency of the students to increase their employment chances, opportunity of it? Is it more professionals people they're actually getting it is better for me?
Okay.
Well, that would be one of the benefits, and I would certainly say that having some sort of work experience or internships to add to your CV, any leadership roles that you could participate in at universities and in clubs and societies will be beneficial as well, because it does show you have like the team playing spirit. You have good interpersonal skills, and these days, as I mentioned earlier on, there will be an increasing use of technology going forward that will impact not just our daily life, but also the day-to-day actuarial work. So I would strongly encourage students to pursue any programming skills that could either be made available at APU, for example, or you could self-study as well. There are plenty of online resources, and more often than not, they are free. So do check them out, because all these would add value to your CV, and ultimately, if I'm an employer faced with 100 applications, I have the privilege to be picky on who I eventually look to interview and subsequently hire. So I would choose from the 100 CVs, those who not only have some exam passes or exemptions, but also those with all the different criteria that I mentioned earlier on.
Yeah, I can say that of course, as what Karin and Logan says, the competitive. I mean, the market job is very competitive, and what you have, and again, we are talking beyond insurance. Actuaries now actually open up. As we say, we always associate with insurance. What Karin says, oil and gas is something that we beyond our thinking earlier. So a lot of field now we need actuaries, and again, what the graduates are coming out with. So not only a paper qualification, not only a professional examination, the skills that you have, the soft skills, again, the industrial experience through internship and to some real life project, and of course, we're talking about technology infused learning. Then, like APU, we are encouraging students to use R, and most of the assessment and the courses are using R. And of course, we are also teaching few other programming skills to equip them with the right technology for them to join the job market.
Okay. So maybe the next questions. Okay, what is actually an actuarial doing? So what's the job scope like?
I think that's for the actuarial student to find out. But yes, it can be many things. So basically, our training is business mathematics, in risk management, probability. So within an insurance company, an actuary can pretty much take up any role. So I've seen actuaries. My CEO is an actuary. You can have a chief marketing officer who's an actuary. I do product development. You can do pricing, valuation, risk management, investments. So within an insurance company, I think an actuary can do any role. And then like what Karen is doing, Karen is I would say a non-traditional actuary in the sense that she's representing IFOA as an ambassador. So that's very different. And then you have data scientists who crunch data, who get insights out of data. You have actuaries who become salesmen, so that's another route as well.
Okay.
If you have that capability, you can probably salesmen would earn more than what actuaries earn. So there's the sky's the limit. You gain that training, the initial period where you discover what you can do, and then after that you can take your career route in whatever part that suits you best.
Okay. Anything to add up? Anyone?
Karin, anything?
No, I think Logan has answered everything.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I just reiterate, the job scope varies depending on the different teams and the departments you're working in. So I would say that in some companies, they also do rotation to different teams for the graduates. So you could spend the first 6 months, for example, in valuation reporting, and then the following 6 months in pricing or product development, and then the following 6 months in risk management. And then ultimately, you can then choose which is your most preferred department or team to be in. But even if that is not readily available in your company, you could I suppose with a few at least half a year or 1 year's experience under your belt, you could then look at opportunities internally to rotate to different teams, and some companies are open to those type of requests as well. So yeah, so I would say it's good to gain as much experience as possible from various different functions, because ultimately as a grad you wouldn't really know. I mean, when I graduated, I didn't really know what I like or didn't like. So until you have tried out various fields and get your hands dirty, and it's not a straightforward rosy track. There were a lot of tears coming in as well from exams and working. So I would say that try out different paths. Some may suit you, some may not, but do not give up on that, and continue to work towards your aspiration.
Okay. All right. Then always the student, always the main concern is how much I can earn if, let's say, I become an actuary. And actually some of the students actually tell me that is it every single paper that I pass in the professional body, my salary actually would jump another level of it.
How much you would earn,
That is
I don't know.
that is I suppose that is $1 million question.
But
well, again, the pay increment, it really depends on companies. Some do provide pay increment, some don't. So if students have that mindset that I'll definitely get like billions of dollars when I join a company, unfortunately it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen straight away, and perhaps only those in the C-suites would be able to achieve that kind of salary bracket. But as I said, that companies are also these days emphasizing the importance of your relevant work experience as well. So pay increment will come when you perform well at your role. and make sure that you meet the expectations of what you need to do and learn on the job. So don't just focus on passing all the professional exams. Of course, that is important, but ultimately, you need to juggle and make sure you have a well-balanced work aspect as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then how much a fresh graduate can earn as an actuary?
In Malaysia.
Yes, in Malaysia. Okay, let's
Malaysia?
talk about it in Malaysia.
I think it really depends. Logan would be closer to this. I think it's about 3,000, high 3,000, 2,000, 3,000 to start off with. Am I right?
Yeah, that's about right. So I think it's now around 2.8, 3. If you're lucky, maybe a little more than 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then how about you, Karin?
Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Sorry?
Mr. Raja.
It looks like it's above average from what a fresh graduate in other field gets, right? It sounds like that. Is a fresh graduate in actually is getting around 2.8 to 3. It's above average that what others in other profession are getting, right? Yeah.
Not exactly. Not exactly. So I was in another forum where someone from what do you call it, manufacturing company, they talked about business mathematicians for the
Okay.
purposes of calibrating, I think, their models. I don't know exactly what they do, but they say their starting pay is about 4,000. So,
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Wow, that's nice.
that's like operational
Okay,
mathematics.
good to hear that.
Okay, look.
Yeah. Okay. Since we have fellow from IFOA, Miss Karin, and also we have fellow from SOA. So what's the difference between these two? Well, I mean, different of IFOA and SOA. Is there any different in?
Karin, you want to
Well,
answer that first?
Yeah, I would say that both bodies are internationally recognized, and ultimately you could work anywhere with either of these qualifications. I suppose the difference lies in terms of the examinations. Like there are different type of examination platforms that we use, but ultimately the objectives of each of the papers tested are in line with the International Actuarial Association's requirements, and that is the IAA. In short, sets the standards for all the actuarial bodies around the world. So, regardless of the different examination platforms, for example, I would say that IFOA as well as SOE, we do meet the requirements set out by IAA. So ultimately, when someone qualifies as a fellow, it's of equivalent standards, so there is really no difference.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
I agree. Sometimes
so
there's a
Mr.
debate on which exams are easier, but to me, I think it evens out.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, students can spend time debating. One is better than the other, or I don't know, one is easier than the other. But my advice is, once you have chosen the track that you're following, just go with it. I mean, there is no point in wasting your energy in debating which is easier, because ultimately we want a good actuary at the end of the day. It doesn't really, if you pass exams, so what, it doesn't, it's not a big game changer, because we are looking for someone who's really dedicated and able to complete their professional exams. So if on your CV, for example, it looks like you're jumping around, I don't view that as a positive. In fact, I would think that's pretty negative.
Okay. Then let me show a little bit. APU actual program actually over here is accredited by both of them, IFOA and SOA. And our program also, our actuarial program is actually one of the top 5 university in Malaysia. I mean in Asia, is fully accredited by IFOA. Right? So
Yes.
okay, we have one student over here. It's really hard to study actuarial.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart.
Okay.
You must be prepared to grind, put in the grind and, put in the hours to study. There's no way out of it. And you must like it. So if you feel like you don't like what you're studying, then don't torture yourself. I would say that lah.
But through the experience in APU, we have batches after 2019 batches. Most of our students are top scorer, and we will be envy of other schools when we go to the exam board. Oh, actually, students, most of them straight A's. The pointer CGPA will be 3.5. Of course, it's hard, but again, you have the right environment, right peers in your group, and again, as what Logan says, right attitude. Then it's nothing hard as long as you put the effort. Because it's hard, that's why it's a niche area. If I don't, I think I believe that.
Okay. Well, seems like a lot of people actually asking the same question also. Is it a very tough degree to obtain? And okay, if let's say, what are the skills that I actually require? I mean, what I'm actually need to good at if let's say I want to decide to study actuarial? Is my maths have to be very good? Am I have to do a lot of calculation during the degree?
Okay, if you look at the structure, after the first year we're looking at basic mathematics, but then again, second year we move to probability, then we move to survival analysis, stochastic kind of thing, then we go to life contingency 1 and 2, then risk theory. I think if it's gradually, the difficulty level gradually increase, but there are a lot of calculation, I don't think so. There are a lot of application of mathematics and probability. Is from what I can see from academic purpose. And from academic perspective, I don't know, but how about Logan and Karin, what do you feel about it?
Yeah, I would say that having the good and strong mathematical skills would help with the initial foundation. But as you progress along the professional exams, especially at the later stages ones, it would be more application based, and your written knowledge has to be pretty good as well. So it's more of the application. I think the initial degree level, it's more mathematical inclined, but the later ones would definitely be more application based.
Yeah, I mean, what I tend to tell people is if you have a passion for it, if you like it, then even if it's tough, it will actually give you joy. So, but it's not different from any other specialized professional field. Like if you're a doctor, you must love doing what you do, and they put in long hours. You know, it's a tough degree as well. Same with engineering or any other specialized field. Yeah.
So as long as I'm interested in it, then definitely I will enjoy the whole process of it, right?
Yeah.
So, but okay, how long does it take? If let's say one had graduated from a degree, it will take me 3 years. How long for me to become an associate, and how long for me to become a fellow after that?
It really depends
I guess
on you.
it depends on correct. It depends on how fast you can pass the remaining exams. So maybe how lucky you are at passing the remaining exams.
The world record holder is 20 years old for a fellow of Society of Actuaries.
20 years old.
Yeah.
20 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, so it really depends, but I would say on average, about 4 years. About 4 years, but the tail is really long. I mean, you get individuals who have sat for exams for over 10 years and still not qualify, and some who finish their exams in a couple of years. So it really depends on individuals. Yeah, I mean that it depends on your own self. Yeah.
Okay.
So having a partial exemption through your degree programs helps accelerate your career path to associate, I believe, right? Rather than you start from scratch with 0 papers.
Yeah, I guess so, but it also depends on how well you can then adapt to the later exams, because some students may not be used to the professional exams when they leave the university, so they may take maybe longer to pass. But again, it really depends on individuals. I've known some who have not failed a single exams at all in all the professional actuarial exams. So, and you get individuals who have failed numerous times. So it really depends.
Then lucky APU students, you straight away can get 6 paper exempted from IFOA.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It's a
So
quiz
maybe
there.
we'll go to the last questions because since the time is actually overshot. All right. I found that the IFOA exemption in APU cannot apply waiver to SOA paper since I'm pursuing SOA's exam. Any suggestion on this?
So I
So
pursued
it's
the
us.
SOA track.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. Karin, is it possible to get a waiver on the IFOA side and then transfer to the SOA side? I know transfers are done, but I don't know whether that is possible to do. But if you're,
Yeah,
yeah,
I believe
Hello.
hello.
that
Karen, your connection is a little
I
bit.
think the question. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah, I think there's a thunderstorm coming up soon. I hear the thunders. Well, so I think the answer in short is I don't think it's possible to obtain waiver for if you have not sat for the IFO exam. So this Nicole, for example, is sitting the SOA, and her question is whether can she convert her XOA exams to the IFOA. I believe you can't because they have stopped allowing this effective from last year.
Okay.
So yeah, unfortunately there won't be any waiver in place. So yeah, continue with SOA exams.
Yeah, I mean, I took the SOA route, and what I did was I started my SOA exams even while studying. So you do have to put in a bit more study hours to do that. But if you can graduate with 3 or 4 exams by the time if you have 3 or 4 exams by the time you graduate, then you are on track lah. You have made good progress, and you can continue. So yeah, I would highly recommend starting your SOA exams before you graduate.
Okay.
Yeah, but it also depends if Nicole. I'm not sure if Nicole is still studying for SPM or has already joined APU. But if you are still in high school and then looking to pursue your degree, then maybe you could look out for the universities that have the accreditation with the IFOA, such as APU, to then go directly into the exemption route. So that could be one option for you, because I'm not too sure from your question at which stage you are in terms of your education.
Yeah. SOA does not provide any waivers anywhere in the world. I know because I was in Canada and my university was trying to get a SOA waiver. Then SOA said, no, we will not give waivers to any university. They want everyone to write their exams. Yeah.
Okay. So, Mr.
So you
Raja,
can
anything to add on?
So you can put it, if you want to SOA, you have to start writing exam. There's no waiver, whichever university in the world.
Yes.
But for IFOA, certain universities like APU, we provide, of course, subject to terms and conditions. You are entitled to apply for 6 paper exemptions, okay, which will boost your career pathway, right? So I think
And 6 paper is the maximum, right?
Yeah, 6 papers maximum anywhere in the world. Yes, Karin, am I right? 6 papers the maximum exemption any university obtain.
No, 6 exemptions are awarded to APU, but of course there are some other universities in the UK with further exemptions for the later exams as well. In terms of whether students will get the 6 if they study at APU, I must emphasize that it's not a guarantee. They need to perform well at the university and meet the required grades for them to be eligible for these exemptions. So don't just assume that by joining APU you would definitely get the 6. You really have to work hard at university to obtain these grades as well.
Yeah.
It's common as like you join APU, after 3 years you won't end up with a degree unless you put an effort. That means you need to reach a certain threshold. Yes.
So as of I understand that if let's say student result is actually achieve 65% and above, so they actually can entitle for the exemption. Am I right, Mr. Raja?
Yes. Of course, a combination of 3 or 2 subjects for each papers.
Okay. All right. So before we end the session, every one of you do you have any advice to the students actually if let's say they want to pursue it in actuarial field?
I would say if you have an interest in and a love for mathematics, I saw a hashtag earlier on, I love maths, do consider the actuarial profession as one of your career options. Of course, there are many other professional tracks that you can consider, but actuary is certainly one of them. And the prospects are pretty bright as far as I can see, at least in Asia.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to add on to that, if you find that actuarial science is your thing, then do develop your other skill sets as well. About a well-rounded individual is valued anywhere much more. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
So how about
students,
Mr.
students. I think, of course, as a head of school, I think we have a degree program which is we try to cater the need for the industry by giving paper exemption, by giving industrial experience to internship, equip you with the relevant programming skills. But again, what our panelist says, it go back to your passion. If you really have a passion and you are good with the mathematics and statistics, and you believe this is what you're going to do in your future, in your career, then go for it. Let's go.
All right. So if any one of you actually interested in actuarial, we want to know more, always welcome to visit us at the FPU campus. Mr. Raja always will be here to advise you on the further studies. So our today's session is going to end here. FPU Live Seminar sessions on post-COVID-19 higher education and career is over now. So these seminars we have been covering in the field of IR 4.0, engineering, AI, big data, design, digital marketing, cybersecurity, fintech, and now today is the last session of actuarial. So if any one of you have missed it, you can always watch the replay at our Facebook page or our YouTube account. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for your sharing. And also thank you for everyone that actually joining us on watching us on this live seminar. Goodbye.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.